Welcome to Aquarium 911, where I help you with your aquarium problems. And today, we've got a question about lighting, and specifically the Fluval Aqua Sky. Let's get into that, because we've done a big thing on the Aqua Sky 2 in the past, and as you well know, I'm working on one with the Aqua Sky 3. So let's get into that email, walk through what I would do, and get down to the answer. Hi Bentley, follow your channel and really appreciate your expertise in the subject of lighting and plants. I wouldn't say expertise, but more just, I'm very vocal about my experience. I started out with the Aqua Sky 2.0 and found all your tutorials outstanding. Thanks. I've watched all of the videos on the Fluval higher end lighting. I know you have a connection with Fluval, but have you ever played with the Aqua Illumination freshwater LED lighting, specifically the AI Prime? So let me answer that part first. I haven't personally owned AIs. I've had a few friends that have had AI Prime specifically, and both saltwater and freshwater versions. And I've played around with the app very briefly and seen some of like the really awesome things that they have available, although it is a little clunky at first to get used to, but once you've figured it out, it's actually pretty cool in the amount of control you can have. So that makes me kind of interested in them. But if I'm going to be honest, the lights that most people want me to try and do next, outside of like Fluval, who's been really nice to send me lighting to do videos on, is probably the Chihiros, just because that's like the high end for like the really plant psycho type people. I just feel like I've had enough people ask me about them that if I'm going to go out and branch out to another light brand, that would probably be the next one I'd look at. But I do know that Aqua Illumination makes some wonderful lighting. Let's dive into the rest of the email. I saw these at a local store I go to often and have been really impressed with the power that they provide. I have a 110-gallon tank, which is 60 by 18 by 23 inches tall. This tank is one of 6 tanks I have going and is basically my show tank in a separate area of my fish room. I think these lights would have enough power to get the light to the bottom of my tank's plants. Would I be able to convert the settings of the Aqua Sky 3 to the program for these lights effectively? I have South/Central American cichlids, heavily planted with a lot of Java and Crips. These AI lights have the following colors: cool white, warm white, blue, photo red, green, and moonlight. I am in a serious research stage at this point and thought I would reach out to request your opinion. Thank you and respect, Tom. So here's the big thing. The Aqua Sky is an RGB light. So instead of having individual LEDs that are set to a certain color, it has a number of whites and then it has a number of RGB, red, green, blue. And you can kind of merge those colors to create other color formations, if you will. But realistically, what you're doing is you're alternating between a colored LED that has multiple options and white light. Whereas the AIs, the Aqua Illuminations, have specific colored LEDs. This is very similar to what we see in like the plant version of the Fluval light, where there are a bunch of individual LEDs that are certain colors and they're just set to those colors, as opposed to something that has some flux within it where you can continuously change it. Does this actually matter? Not really. It doesn't. What really matters is probably the lumen value is the thing we need to pay the most attention to. And where this is difficult is that the Aqua Illuminations have a lot of power, and also most of them are, as I recall, more of a point source light. So they're like a smaller kind of puck, if you will, similar to what we see out of like the Kessel lighting, right? And point source lighting can be really cool because it can create that cool shimmer effect. And if I remember right, the AIs are like kind of triangular. Make sure I'm right on the primes, because this might be a different AI and not the prime. Okay, yeah, they're not triangular, but they're like a kind of pseudo-square. But they are kind of a point source, like circular LED. So here's the thing. Because of how those are set, I'm guessing instead of like a long bar or 2 bars of lights, depending on how many Aqua Skies you were using, you would have a couple of those pucks, right? And I'm just going to call them pucks because that's easy in my head. I know that's not typically what they're probably called, but just bear with me a little bit, okay? My brain's a little fried. Anyway, what you're going to have is you're going to have like 2 kind of like almost spotlighty type things happening. Now granted, they're not like a true spotlight where it's very focused, they are distributed and things like that, but the way that the light distributes will be a little different. There's a combination of things. The AIs are a much more powerful light than the Aqua Sky. So you can kind of convert the light over, but I don't think that the raw percentages will yield the same amount of light. So if so far your tank is looking really good, you might find that you need less power in the AI primes, especially because I'm assuming you're going to have two of them and not a singular light because of the light spread. This is just a guess. I might need those extra details to like really help dial you in on these, but you can translate a lot of the color values over. And what I would say is like, just don't have a ton of green, a ton of red, a ton of blue. Probably focus mostly on the white portions and use the blue, the green, the red, and maybe even the moonlight to just kind of fill in and maybe kind of dial it in a touch. But realistically, what you're looking for is visually to get kind of the same amount of power that you were getting out of the aqua skies, assuming that everything is going really well. When you make a change to lights, even when I changed over here, I went from the Aquarium Co-op light to the Aqua Sky 3, and as you guys know, I have been fighting this massive hair algae death bloom over here. Yeah, even I deal with hair algae. It happens. It's okay. Algae is normal. It happens. But that change of lighting, even though one would think that the Aquarium Co-op light should be more powerful, right? It's different. And that difference in light also just, there's a lot more guppies in here, I'm feeding more food, so the balance is slowly changing because there's more food waste and all that kind of stuff, but that's not what we're worried about as much. The change of lights can cause problems. So what I would argue you should do is if you do change to the aqua illuminations, is I would first see what that just like visually to your own eyes looks like at about 50% power compared to what you're using the Aqua Sky for. And then slowly dial it up. Like try to match what the Aqua Sky looks like to you as far as how bright and dim portions of the tank are. And then slowly dial it up a little bit and just kind of monitor it. Every time you make a change and just change it a small amount at a time, wait a couple of weeks and start seeing, am I seeing more algae growth than I saw before? Am I seeing some like beneficial improvement to the plants? Like maybe some level of density is increasing, or I'm seeing more new leaves more frequently, whatever that might be, right? What we want to watch for is for the positives to keep happening and the negatives to stay in check. If we can keep the algae under control, we can make that switch, but what we want to do is do it kind of slow and easy and gradual. What we don't want to do is put the AI primes on there and have them dialed up to a higher setting immediately and just go, we'll just figure it out. It's okay to drop it down a little bit and then slowly ratchet it up and get used to that. That would be my suggestion. Can you translate the setting directly? Not really, but yes. I know that's like the worst answer, but basically what I'm trying to say is because you have dedicated LEDs, they're going to be more powerful than the amount of red, green, and blue that come out of the RGB LEDs that sit in the Aqua Sky. So realistically, you can kind of mimic the same setting. You would probably just need to have the settings of those reds, greens, and blues a bit lower than you do on the Aqua Sky itself. Because these are dedicated LEDs, they're going to have a bit more oomph to them. So we want to dial that power down to get the same, effective speaking, kind of light combination going into our aquarium. Do I know the perfect answer for that? No. That's why I said start like 50%. See what that looks like and then kind of slowly tinker. And once you get it to where like if you look at it and you could even leave the Aqua Skies on and turn the Aqua Skies off and turn those on. And then turn the Aqua Skies on and turn the AIs off and look and just kind of watch with your own eyes and be like, yeah, that looks about the same to start. That's your starting point. Try to get them as close visually. And I know this isn't perfect. If you have a par meter, you can use a par meter and do this in a much more scientific fashion. Or if you have the ability to borrow one temporarily, like as an example, my local club lets us borrow a par meter that's owned by the club. That makes it really awesome when you want to do things like measure par. However, there's a big waiting list, so sometimes it takes a while to get a hold of that thing. But if you don't have access to one of those, just use your eyes. Just kind of look and like, hey, you know, this part of my tank down here in this front corner used to be a little more dim under the Aqua Sky, and now it's really bright. Maybe I should turn the light down a little bit. Or on the very tops, this used to be kind of just like, look kind of like light, normal light, and now it looks like really, really bright. I probably have the light setting up a little too high because this more powerful light is going to bathe way more light into the aquarium if I pump it way too high, right? Just use some common sense there, and I think you'll be okay. Do you absolutely have to change over to make it an awesome display tank? Not really. You could probably just add a second Aqua Sky if you've only got one or whatever and get a similar effect. But do the AI primes look really cool? And do they have a bit more power and control? Yeah, they can. If you really like them, try them. Why not? I've seen so many tanks that use the AI lights and they look incredible. These are like very high-end display tanks, the kind of people that would use a Chihiros or a Kessel or something like that, and I've seen some amazing results. So am I trying to say like, you shouldn't use them, they're overpriced? No, not at all. They're amazing lights. I'm just saying there's like many ways to solve this problem that isn't just completely change the lights. But if you want to, start at a lower power setting, kind of dial it in, trying to get it visually to your own eyes to look about the same. And then slowly tinker from there. The big thing that I will ever suggest to anyone on lighting, and this is kind of the game that I play, is instead of thinking like, oh, there's just this one setting, and like, even if I suggest a setting, I want to be very clear about this. A suggested setting is just something that I have found success with, but your tank is different. And so what you'll want to use is my setting is a baseline, and then tinker. Never be afraid to play with and change the settings and see what you get out of it. To me, that's one of the most fun parts about playing with the technology side of this game of aquariums is what can I do on my lights and what little things can I tweak and what can I play with that gets me a better or more interesting result long term. So that's it. That's what I've got for you, Tom. I hope that helps you out. If you can, if you do get the AI primes, send me a picture. I just want to see what your tank looks like. I want to see this tank with the AI primes on it. Maybe send me before and after. Here's the Aqua Sky. Here's the AI primes. Whatever you've got time to do, I'd love to see it. For the rest of you watching, have you ever changed lights and had a problem? Have you changed lights and had to go phenomenally better? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Literally that like, comment, subscribe, those 3 things are absolutely free, and they tell old Papa YouTube, hey, I really like what this person is doing, and someone else might too. It's how all of our aquarium channels grow. It is how we have the ability to buy new lights and tinker with toys, sometimes get a relationship with Fluval, who knows, right? All these things that can happen that prevent us from having to shove stupid ads in your face beyond the ones that YouTube already does. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.